Hello everyone, this is Eric. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we going to summarize on the book, Where Good Ideas Come From, by Steven Johnson Part 2. So let's get started. Lesson 5, Collaboration is at least as important a driver of innovation as competition. The ability of inventors and entrepreneurs to capitalize on their discoveries is often cited as a fundamental driver of innovation. But while the commercialization potential of inventions indeed spurs innovation, it also generates patents and other restrictions, thus hindering the circulation and further development of ideas. Thus, with regard to innovation, the very markets which are supposed to guarantee efficiency by rewarding inventors are in fact structurally inefficient, because they artificially prevent ideas from propagating and combining with others. Over the past 600 years, the way that great inventions and discoveries are made seems to have gravitated increasingly away from individual inventors and toward networks of people. And even as the age of capitalism dawned and bloomed, most great discoveries have gone unrewarded by the markets. The World Wide Web, the theory of relativity, computers, X-rays, pacemakers and penicillin are but a few examples where the inventor has not profited. Certainly market-spurred innovation has been far more effective than innovation achieved in command economies like the Soviet Union, but that still does not mean it is the optimal way forward. Yes, inventors may well deserve to be rewarded, but the real question should be how to increase innovation in general. In The Origin of Species, Darwin himself placed equal emphasis on the wonder of complex collaboration between species as on the natural selection that comes from competition for resources. Similarly, open networks of connections among innovations can be just as generative as vigorous competition. Free markets have greatly spurred innovation, but so has the collaborative, open way of sharing knowledge in networks. Lesson 6, Lucky connections between ideas drive innovation. The ability of carbon to connect with other atoms was vital for the evolution of life, but a second, randomizing, force was also necessary: water. Water moves and churns, dissolving and eroding everything in its path, thus fostering new kinds of connections between atoms in the primordial soup. Just as importantly, the strong hydrogen bonds of water molecules helped maintain those new connections. This mix of turbulence and stability is why liquid networks are optimal both for the evolution of life and for creativity. Innovative networks too must teeter on the brink of chaos, in the fruitful realm between order and anarchy, just like water. Random connections drive serendipitous discoveries. Dreams, for example, are the primordial soup of innovation, where ideas connect seemingly at random. In fact, neuroscientists have confirmed that sleeping on a problem greatly helps solve it. Centuries ago, the German chemist Kekule dreamt of a mythological serpent devouring its own tail, and subsequently realized how carbon atoms in a ring formed the molecule benzene. But it seems chaos and creativity are linked even on a neurological level. Ideas are in fact manifestations of a complex network of neurons firing in the brain, and new ideas are only possible when new connections are formed. For some reason, neurons in the brain alternate between states of chaos, where they fire completely out of sync with each other, and more organized phase-lock states where large clusters of neurons fire at exactly the same frequency. The period of time spent in either state differs from brain to brain. Somewhat counterintuitively, studies have shown that the longer the spells of chaos a person's brain tends to experience, the smarter the person usually is. Lesson 7. Serendipitous discoveries can be facilitated by a shared intellectual or physical space. When ideas converge in a shared physical or intellectual space, through for example people from different disciplines meeting, creative collisions happen. Consider the modernist cultural innovations of the 1920s. Many of them were largely a result of artists, poets, and writers meeting at the same Parisian cafes. Shared interactions allow ideas to diffuse, circulate, and be combined randomly with others. On an individual level, facilitating such serendipitous connections is simply a matter of simultaneously introducing ideas from different disciplines into your consciousness. Innovators like Benjamin Franklin and Charles Darwin favored working on multiple projects simultaneously, in a kind of slow multitasking mode. One project would take center stage for days at a time, but linger at the back of the mind afterwards too, so connections between projects could be drawn. The philosopher John Locke understood the importance of cross-referencing as early on as 1652, when he began developing an elaborate system for indexing the content of his commonplace book, essentially a scrapbook of interesting thoughts and findings. Such books formed his repository of ideas and hunches, maturing and waiting to be connected to new ideas. On an organizational level, the key to innovation and inspiration is a network which allows hunches to mature, scatter, and combine with others openly. The greatest such network in existence is, of course, the World Wide Web, where a wealth of ideas is not only available, but hyperlinked for easy connections between several disciplines. Some studies suggest as much as 95% of medical technology donated to developing countries breaks within the first 5 years of use. Lesson 8. Great innovations emerge from environments that are partly contaminated by error. Error is present in both the evolution of life and the innovation of great ideas, and it is not always a bad thing. Consider natural reproduction. Genes are passed on from parent to offspring, providing building instructions for how the offspring should develop. Without occasional mutations, meaning random errors in those instructions, evolution would have long ago come to a virtual standstill. The elephant's tusks or peacock's feathers would have never emerged if only perfect copies of existing genes would have propagated. Mutations endow creatures with new traits. While most of them fail fantastically, these errors also produce a few winners, thus driving evolution. Similarly, Alexander Fleming only discovered penicillin because of an error. He mistakenly allowed a bacteria sample to be contaminated by mold and began to wonder what had killed the bacteria. In fact, major new scientific theories often begin as pesky little errors in the data which keep demonstrating that something in the dominant theory is wrong. Unexplained errors force us to adopt new strategies and to abandon our old assumptions. In a study, psychologist Charlene Namath showed 2 groups of people slides with various colors on them, and asked the subjects to free associate words after seeing each slide. Here's the twist: into the second group, Namath inserted actors who occasionally claimed to see different colors than the actual one shown, e.g., green, when the slide was in fact blue. The first group came up only with the most predictable associations, e.g., sky, for a blue slide, but the second group was far more creative. The error introduced into the group forced them to consider more possibilities than just the obvious ones. Lesson 9. Innovation thrives on reinventing and reusing the old. Evolutionary biologists use the term expatiation to describe the phenomenon where a trait originally developed for a specific purpose is eventually used in a completely different way. Feathers, for example, originally evolved as a method for temperature regulation, but today their airfoil shape helps birds fly. Ideas are often similarly repurposed along the way. Tim Berners-Lee created the World Wide Web as a tool for scholars, but in the course of time it became a network for shopping, social networking and pornography, among other things. Johannes Gutenberg, on the other hand, found an innovative use for a 1,000-year-old invention, the wine screw press used to squeeze juice out of grapes. Using this ancient technology and his knowledge of metallurgy, Gutenberg created the world's first printing press. Unconventional uses for old, even discarded items and ideas spur innovation. Nairobian cobblers make rubber sandals out of car tires, and Gustave Flaubert wrote Sentimental Education as a contortion of the Bildungsroman genre. The old is reshaped into the new. Discarded spaces are also transformed through innovation. Just like the skeletal structure left behind by dead coral forms the basis of the rich and thriving ecosystem of the reef, abandoned buildings and run-down neighborhoods are often the first homes of innovative urban subcultures. Their unconventional thinking and experimentation often has no place in glitzy mainstream malls and shopping streets initially. Old buildings allow subcultures to interact and generate ideas that then diffuse and spill over into the mainstream. Thanks for listening to our audiobook. Please like and subscribe to our channel and hit bell icon.